We've got Bessie coming up to the stage. Many of you know Bessie. She's on our wellness committee. She supports a lot of our efforts in nutrition education, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about nutrition trends that are impacting our environment. So let's introduce Bessie. Thank you so much, my dear.
All right, thank you, Erin, and thank you everyone for being here. I am going to be talking about trends shaping the education environment. I'm going to keep it concise and high level because I put one of these, this is our trends publication, it's on all of the tables. So you can, if you want more information or a little deeper understanding, you can take this with you, read it at your convenience. So we're just going to be kind of going through some of the high level trends here. So after this presentation, you're going to be able to identify trends in the current nutrition and education environment and the implications for improving school wellness strategies. There we go. So I think a lot of you in this room can have memorized our cause, but Dairy Council of California is a cause-based organization. We are a quasi-state government agency overseen by the California Department of Food and Agriculture, and we're funded by dairy farmers and dairy processors. So just a little background for those of you not familiar. So before we dive into the trends, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we develop our trends. So we established this process over 30 years ago, and it's been a really important part of our strategic planning. It helps us really think about the most strategic path forward, as well as embrace opportunities in the environment. So what we do, we have a staff of about 45 people, and we really try to get everyone involved in abstracting. It helps when you're thinking about strategic planning, it helps with that buy-in. Staff that are abstracting understand kind of some of the decisions that we're making as an organization. So we have a good percentage of staff that do abstract, and they enter, and these are on different topics like food, environment and access, nutrition education, disease, dairy nutrition, really a wide variety. I think we have like 15 different topics that we follow. They enter their abstracts into our database, and then we have a team of about 15 registered dietitians and communication and nutrition experts that meet 3 times a year. We run reports on all those different topics, and then we think critically, and we have discussions, and we try to identify the main themes that are going to be relevant to our audience on those various topics. So another really important part about our trends is that we distill the trends, and then we try to think about the implications. How can we apply these how are our partners going to be able to apply these to the work that they do? And just as kind of a background, we're going to be hearing a little bit more about the Let's Eat Healthy initiative a little bit later. And for that initiative, which is part of Dairy Council of California, part of that initiative, we've developed a Let's Eat Healthy framework to provide actionable strategies to apply wellness activities. And that framework was really informed by trends, and it preceded, how many here are familiar with the White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health? Okay, so just a few of you, but this was a really important conference that was about a year ago that the White House held. And they also, with that conference, put together a national strategy. And our Let's Eat Healthy framework was really aligned to that. So that just really shows the power of this trends tracking process to be aligned to these bigger federal and national, state level, even local level strategies. All right, so before we dive into the trends, I just want everyone to take, like 10 or 15 seconds to think about what are some of the nutrition or education trends that you're seeing in your work environment, school environments. Maybe jot it down or keep it in your head. Just think about it because it's kind of fun to see at the end. Was there some alignment between what you're seeing and what we have identified this year? All right, so to set the stage for the trends, it's important to understand that we are seeing shifts in our environment. The California Department of Education data shows that over 55% of California students are currently identified as Latinx. And so as you can see on this chart, the growing diversity in California schools and our communities are going to really require that inclusive, everything has to be through an equity lens. I'm thinking back to Fidel's comment and just how are we making our local school wellness committee meetings more inclusive? How are we making, Devinder talked about making, meals more inclusive and making sure that we have culturally relevant meals. So this can really be applied in a variety of ways, but it's going to be something, everything is going to have to be through that equity lens. All right, so first trend, food as medicine is increasingly viewed as a solution to improving health. So this is traditionally thought of really in the healthcare environment as medically tailored meals, but we see that kind of evolving with community pilots, and these are being brought into more public health programs with more funding and grants available to establish them. So we see that with fruit and veggie prescription programs. And this is in due part to that White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health, which highlighted food is medicine as a key strategy to improve health and nutrition security. And this just indicates that food and nutrition is continuously being amplified as a solution to sustaining health and preventing disease. So in addition to these growing programs and funding for those, we're also seeing this trend being caught up by consumers. So they're looking to food and beverages for health promoting properties. So some examples that we identified through our trends is, mushroom infused drinks for stress reduction, cookies with ingredients to help you sleep, moon milk, which is a traditional Indian staple, but it's a combination of milk and herbs to aid with sleep and relaxation. And then also social media influencers are starting to use this as a catchphrase to impact and gain followers. And so this came up when I was providing this presentation actually for San Diego Unified School District, that we as educators and health professionals, and with this kind of trend evolving from the public health realm into the consumer-facing audience, that we're going to have a responsibility to really define what that means, because we know that food is much more than medicine. Food is comfort, food is traditions. So just kind of balancing that, it can be really foundational in positive public health programs, but we also have to be sensitive to that kind of food neutrality aspect. And then we also, even just thinking about food as medicine, there's not one food, there's not one nutrient that's going to impact lifelong health. It's really a combination of dietary patterns over time. So really being able to promote nutrition education and evidence-based guidance. So the implication, school meals, which include nutrient-dense foods, are foundational for student success. So how can this concept be applied to the nutrient-dense foods that we're serving through school meals? And then nutrition education to accompany school meal programs reinforces the important role nutritious dietary patterns play in student wellness in the short term and the long term. All right, I love this trend. So we are seeing an increased focus on early childhood, pregnancy, and older adults. So this is happening in policies, this is happening in research, and more research is going towards these different life stages and community programs. All life stages have important dietary needs, but we're understanding that these on the spectrums are really critical time periods for nutrition and nutritious dietary patterns. So the focus on, I wanted to share, so the focus on pregnancy and early childhood as a critical window of opportunity has inspired one of our recent publications, The Healthy Eating Table. It's on nutrition in pregnancy and early childhood. And so it kind of dives into the American Academy of Pediatrics has identified, 14 key nutrients that are important for neurodevelopment, and really they're so important to get during, in utero and in the first 2 years of life, that, even if they're repleted later, they may not have the same impact if they have adequate intake during those key life stages. And so it really emphasizes that plant and animal source foods are really important contributions to nutrient intake. So if you want to dive into that more, we have like a really food forward approach to achieving that, because we know that, pregnancy and early childhood nutrition during these times impacts us all, right? We want to see that foundation set for our children. All right, and on the other end of the lifespan, older adulthood is an age group that's garnering more attention. The population of aging adults is continuing to grow. In California, the over 60 population is expected to diversify and grow faster than any other age group. By 2030, it'll comprise a quarter of the state's population. So that's big. So this population will need, more services for optimal wellness, including, preserving cognitive health, how to stay active, maintain their quality of life, in addition to the prevention, of chronic diseases. So the implications, there is an increasing opportunity to preserve sustainable, nutritious eating patterns that include dairy. So in that, the American Academy of Pediatrics identified the 14 nutrients. Seven of them are in dairy foods. So it's an affordable, palatable way to ensure that those nutrient needs are being met, so they can play a really important role in public health guidance. And then future dietary guidance will include specific nutrition solutions to support key life stages. So with the 2020-2025 dietary guidelines of Americans, we saw this increased focus on those specific life stages. So I think we're going to continue to see more specific recommendations for different life stages. All right, next trend. Economic uncertainty and unpredictability impact consumers' workforce and funding. So we really see this, the economic strain at all levels. Consumers are feeling it with the rising costs of food and inflation, and are responding by their shopping behaviors and shifting to eating more at home. So this shift really provides an opportunity for nutrition education, to, culinary education, to highlight how to use, those foods on a budget at home to cook meals. Through the Let's Eat Healthy grant program, we supported a program to use the foods that were available in a school food pantry to make meals at home. So these types of strategies are going to be really helpful during this time of economic strain. And then also ongoing fallout from the pandemic and economic instability are also leading to workforce disruptions. Teachers and health professionals, school nurses are all professions that are, that it's struggling to retain and attract employees to these professions. During this time, we've also seen progress in supporting nutrition security funding. So we see this in universal school meals. We see this with farm to school funding to upgrade school kitchens and farm to school efforts. However, with the uncertainty of the current economic environment, there is concern that increased investments are not necessarily sustainable. And so we have seen kind of some examples of this unstable funding. One example of that is SNAP federal food benefits that were granted during the pandemic for millions were rolled back in March. So there's an opportunity to amplify data that demonstrates the health, academic, and economic benefits of state and federally funded nutrition security programs, right? We have to show how beneficial they are to really be able to drive, that support to keep these programs going. And then as communities deal with economic uncertainty, a focus on the value of nutrient-dense foods through school meals is an opportunity to support students and communities. All right, last trend is diverse dietary patterns play a role in sustainable food systems. So really it's, when we're starting to talk about sustainable nutrition and sustainable food nutrition, culture, environment, economy, health, and nutrition, it's very complex. All of these things have to play into the solutions. So we're seeing this talked about more and more. I think even today we were talking about it. So people, making food choices today has become increasingly challenging. People are asking, are my food choices good for my body? Are they good for the planet? Are they culturally appropriate? And we know that in California, the agriculture sector is being expected to take steps to really reduce environmental impact and provide nutrient-dense foods, not only for us locally, but around the world. So we are taking strides. So I'm going to provide a quick example because I have these examples, and this came through trends a lot. A new peer-reviewed study shows that the California dairy sector is on target to reach climate neutrality by 2050, which means they're on track to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions. And they're really doing this through, reducing water use, having methane digesters, and these are, you can dive into these more. We're a little low on time, but just they're using 90% less land than 70 years ago. So really just a lot of strategies to try to decrease those waste. One of the ways that they're decreasing water is they're upcycling. So because California is such a rich agricultural state, they're able to use agricultural byproducts like almond hulls and citrus pulp. So that makes up about 40 to 50% of a cow's diet. And so that really greatly reduces the amount of water needed to create feed for cows. So thinking about those different elements of, sustainable nutrition. So like nutrition, thinking about nutrition and health, dairy foods are nutrient dense, and they are associated with a decreased incidence of, chronic disease like diabetes and cardiovascular disease and childhood obesity. All right, so investments in farm to school and sustainable nutrition programs really create an opportunity to highlight the California dairy community's climate smart farming practices and leadership. Dairy farm tours and other dairy ag literacy experiences are also a solution to equip students, educators, and food service staff with comprehensive agriculture education. I think that Dr. LaPresto made a really good point about the fact that, this climate, the implications of climate change are really causing our younger population to have a lot of anxiety. And so educating on all of the amazing things that we're doing in California can really help alleviate that anxiety, but also give solutions. How can they contribute? See how the agriculture sector is contributing, and then how do you bring that to also the individual level so you can take action? All right, and I don't know if I need to get into these. I know we're low on time, but just thinking about ways to, how can food as medicine really be a catalyst for nutrition education in schools? How can it be a motivator to really inspire health initiatives? Let's start young. And then, economic uncertainty may require more effectively connecting students and families to food access programs, really being able to promote universal school meals, potentially, trying to expand maybe school food pantries, and then helping families navigate conflicting information about how to positively support sustainable dietary patterns to alleviate some of that anxiety. Maybe I hope are some of the takeaways, and then yeah, thank you very much. Our next Trends publication will be coming out at the end of this calendar year, the kick off the new year. So can look forward to that.
I have a question. You were talking earlier about you were talking about earlier 40% of almond feed to the cow. Is that how the almond milk is made? Just wanted to keep the board level light.
Let's give a big round of applause for Betsy. Thank you so much, Betsy. Thank you so much. That was perfect. You're great. Well, we certainly support the prescription that food is medicine. So thank you so much for giving us those trends. Devinder and I were checking out what we were like, okay, what did you get? Who would you spot? And so we really appreciate you sharing in some of those trends that we can take back.